everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriet Cole. Very happy to be with you today. Today is a special day. For me, it's sort of an afterglow day. I had a big birthday a couple days ago, and I always love to celebrate my birthday. And in this case, many loved ones came to be with me, and the whole focus was for us to be able to share a hug, to share love, to be able to fill our cup so that we can go out and do whatever it is that we need to do, but starting with taking care of ourselves. And I was thinking about uh, the people I care about and what we're all going through. And, if you pause for a moment, it's probably true for you, but certainly there are people in your world who are going through something, right? We we have health things, we have family things, work things, just the ups and downs of life. And as we move on, no matter how hard we work at doing our best, it doesn't mean that tough things aren't there. My parents taught me, it's how you handle what is before you more than whether it's going to come. There's no magic button that you can push that says, okay, well, I've done this, I've done the work. I'm a meditator, I meditate, so everything should be okay. Doesn't quite work like that. It is constant effort, constant focus, constant return to center, return to center, return to center. Fill your cup, fill your cup. And for many of us who are busy, and when part of our work, and this is certainly true for me, is supporting others, your cup can become depleted because you may be giving, 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 which is a great thing. But if you don't have that circle so that you're also giving to yourself, then you really can become depleted. So I wanted to create space for us to where the cup is full and we bring all of our goodness and fill each other's cup. And that is exactly what happened. And I'm so grateful for everyone who was able to join me and those who joined from a distance, just spiritually offering their love and support. As I was looking around the room at loved ones who came to be with me, I realized something that is consistent with the people I keep close. And that is the focus of today's inspiration. They walk their talk to the best of their ability. The people who are close to me are people who work hard to be in alignment with who they say they are. We call this branding now. What is your brand? What do you stand for? Uh, if someone were to describe you, would they say about you what you want to be true, what you think is true? And if they do, then in the language of today, that would mean that you are reflecting your brand. Language may change, but the point is, who are you? And do you actually stand for what you say you stand for? What you say out of your mouth, the way to live, the way to be, the things that you value, do your actions, your words, your deeds reflect that? And that is not necessarily easy to do, but isn't it what life is about? Like if that isn't true, if you aren't a person of your word, if you don't live based upon what you have put forth is who you are, then what happens? All kinds of stuff happen. The biggest thing is people stop trusting you. It is hard for people to trust you if you don't do what you say you're going to do, right? You can't trust yourself if you don't do what you say you're going to do. And so being a person of your word is everything. Being the person who shows up for whoever you say you are, whatever you have proclaimed to be true about yourself, not what somebody else says you are, not what you're supposed to be. That's not it at all. It's who do you say you are? Who do you say you are? Put your name in there. Who am I? who am I and what is important to me? What do I value? How do I engage other people? How do I live? Who are you? And whatever the answer is to that should be what you say and how you live. And when you do that, then you can go to sleep at night knowing whether it is your best may not measure up next to somebody else's best. That is not the point. But if you measure up to you, what you say you are, who you say you are, how you say you live in this world, man, your life is going to be so much sweeter. So for my party, and I'm sharing this because I think it's very sweet, but also universal at the same time. Uh, First of all, my producer worked her fanny off. You know, I could say another word. I don't think she slept all weekend and part of the week, just with tremendous love, making uh, both a photo reel of the life of Harriet from a little girl to now, and a birthday tribute, which was a complete surprise to me. What we talked about is not what it became, and it was perfect. Um, and I will just say, when this is what my grandmother taught me. So this is a preamble to what I'm going to say. But my grandmother, Carrie Freeland, who lived to be 101 years old, told me at one point when I was in my early 20s, I was complaining about her work. And I didn't think that she should have to do her work. And the context of that is my grandmother was a domestic worker up until 93 when we made her retire. Think about that. So domestic worker, she was a maid. But more than that, she took care of people like when they got old, she cleaned them up in their bed when they couldn't get out of bed. She did everything. And she worked for wealthy white people. So my grandmother was born in 1889. So context. I don't know what her education was, but elementary school. Very smart woman, very low education. And at a certain point, my father was doing very well. We had enough money, or so I thought, to be able to take care of her. And I remember saying to her, we called her Little Grandma, you shouldn't have to work for these people anymore. This is in the 70s during the um, uh, Black Power movement. And you shouldn't have to work for those white people. You should be able to be home. And she stopped me in my tracks. By the way, my grandmother was a white-skinned Black woman. She called herself colored. That's what they called themselves back then. And she said, hold it. She says, I love my work and I love the people that I work for. And when you grow up, your responsibility is to love your work and the people you work for and with. That is your responsibility. And I never forgot because she was so stern. And my grandmother truly did not look at people through the lens of race. No matter what was going on, the fluctuations in our world, she looked at people through their hearts. And I saw that and was able to imbibe that and embody that. And I'm grateful for so many lessons from her. But that lesson about loving your work and loving the people you work with and for is my forward thought all the time. So back to my team. I have a small team, and trust me, we love each other. There's no way that anybody would work with me for the tiny little budget we have and to make magic all the time if it wasn't fueled by love. And so Fallon, who is my producer for this show and for all of our graphics, spent hours and hours and hours making a beautiful tribute for my birthday that made us all cry. But there's a part of it that I want to show you, but I have to set it up, so don't play it yet, Fallon. The quote for today is coming from my father's favorite poem. So my father, the Honorable Harry Augustus Cole, who was a judge, who was a very powerful, prominent, and strict man, who even the fact that he had a poem that he loved was kind of weird to us because he was strict. He was dogmatic, and then he had this poem. So he would recite this poem with some regularity, and my daughter Carrie never met my father in person because he died many years before she was born, but we taught her the poem because that's how we do. So let's go to the quote, and then after we go to the quote, I'll ask Fallon to play the video. So this is one stanza of the quote. It says, "I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely tell the way. The eye's a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is confusing, but example's always clear. And the best of all the preachers are the men who live their creeds. For to see good put in action is what everybody needs." And this is from the poet Edgar Guest. So I want to read this little part to you again. Just hear what it's saying. And this poem has several stanzas. So you can imagine the judge saying, "We are going to listen to this poem now." And we would sit and listen and, kind of take it in. And it's so powerful and sweet and also incisive. So listen again. "I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely tell the way. The eye's a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is confusing, but example's always clear. And the best of all the preachers are the men who live their creeds. For to see good put in action is what everybody needs." Isn't that beautiful? I love it so much. And Carrie was in elementary school when we started telling her this poem. And when Fallon put together this little video, she found the clip that we're about to play, and it opened up the birthday tribute. So let's play it now, Fallon.
I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely tell the way. The eye's a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is confusing, but example's always clear. And the best of all preachers are the men who live their creeds, for to see good put in action is what everybody needs. I soon can learn to do it if you'll let me see it done. I can watch your hands in action, but your tongue too fast may run. And the lecture you deliver may be very wise and true, but I'd rather get my lessons by observing what you do. For I might misunderstand you and the high advice you give, but there's no misunderstanding how you act and how you live.
And that's my beautiful baby, who is now 22 years old. I think she was about 12, because this is in her she went to a school called Bank Street from pre-K to 8th grade, and I think that was probably about 6th or 7th grade. Wasn't she mature for her age at that time? But first of all, I love the passing down of legacy because that's my daddy's poem, and he died in 1999, and she was born in 2003. So she didn't get to meet him in person, but she gets his lessons every day. And the point of this is walk your talk. Who do you say you are? And who shows up? How do you live your life? And for me at this stage in life, I've been on the planet for a long time. When you have and people know you, they know you. They know whether you represent what you say, who you say you are, or not. And people who love you help you to fine tune along the way. Oh, did you sort of veer off on a course? Let me bring you back. Are you living your truth? And there was a book I wrote some years ago called Choosing Truth, and it was about that journey. I've been practicing meditation for more than 30 years. The best thing I could have done. I am a Piscean. One thing that people know, if you believe at all in astrology, there are two fish swimming in opposite directions. Pisceans tend to be very emotional and creative and lots of great things. But the emotional part, when I was young, it would be like, whoo, almost like being on a roller coaster, sort of extreme highs and extreme lows, which is difficult to maintain and can create a lot of emotional fragility. Through practicing meditation, I have been able to find the even path, to come back to center, as I mentioned from the beginning, when things seem to be off. When I am deeply impacted by a person, a situation, whatever it might be, coming back to the grounded, safe space, for me, it's easiest by engaging the practices, the spiritual practices that I've learned that remind me I am not that experience, that the power that lives within me is consistent and it doesn't waver. Sometimes the interaction with the world, uh, the experiences that we have may change how I feel in the moment, but I don't have to give in to them. I don't have to fall off of my path because someone has impacted me in one way or another, regardless of what's going on. And that was that I think that's such an important message and reminder for us. Whatever is happening in your world, you do not have to be derailed. You do not have to fall off just because something happened. You can stay the course, you can get back on the horse, so to speak. You can you don't have to give up. And so many of my parents' lessons and my grandmother's lessons come to mind as I'm saying this because it's important to have people around you who are supporting you because that really, really, really helps. And by the way, we're here. If you want to tell me where you are, I'm in Harlem. Where are you right now? Where are you? And is this having an impact on you, this idea of walking your talk? What does it mean to you? Is it ever difficult for you? I'm going to say for me, it is sometimes. And how I am able to come back to center is literally practicing meditation, doing deep breathing, reminding myself of who I am and what I represent, and surrounding myself with people who love me, who support me, and who tell me the truth the way that I can hear it. And I want to I want to look at that for a moment. Who do you surround yourself with? Who are those people? Do you want to be around them? Have they just become convenient? Are they supporting you in being your best self? Are they pulling you down? Are they annoying? Are they do they take up too much of your time? Are they helping you to realign with your greatness? Like really do an assessment of the people in your life and what they mean to you and how they show up and how you interact and react to them. The people in our lives are really important. And I think you learn this as you get older. You need to curate your life. Everybody doesn't just get in. I want to look here and say, um, Gemini, let's see. Bethune Development says Gemini, find this centering. Centering is so I'm not sure that was too short for me to understanding exactly your question, but meditation and centering, yes. Coming back to your core is what I'm talking about. And right now, when I was talking about friends and loved ones, we have the right to curate who's in our lives. And by the way, that even includes our family members, you know? Uh, Bethune Management, DC. Hey, yes, my old stomping grounds. Um, we have the right to curate the people in our lives, even if it's family. And I write an advice column, and I got a question the other day about family members who were just the height of annoying and disrespectful. And, what do you do then if it's your family? Well, try to make the recommendation that you don't totally walk away from your family because it is your family, but you can limit your exposure to people who are toxic. And you have every right to do that. And as it relates to the people you have created as family, the people who are part of your universe, not everybody gets to be in that universe. So I live in New York City, and one of the things that is done here in order to survive, people have tunnel vision. And I'm from Baltimore, so I remember walking down the street when I first came here. I worked at Essence. It was in Times Square at a time when Times Square was pretty seedy. But the way you grow up in Baltimore, you don't walk past a person on the street without saying hello. So young me, I'm walking down the street, and I see people, "Oh, good morning," and people started following me. And I was like, "Ooh," and sometimes they were uh, not the people who should be following me, let's just say. And I realized, oh, I can't speak to everybody. It doesn't mean I have any lack of respect for people, but I need to be focused. I remember one time being at the ashram where I practice meditation and offer service, and we got a message once, if these are all people you love and respect. If you're so busy stopping and pausing and chit-chatting with people as you walk down the hall to get to the responsibility that you have, you're gonna be late. So even if it's the people you love, sometimes you have to be focused, laser focused, and not veer off and be with them. What's the point of this? The universe is huge. Who gets to be in your universe? Not everybody. It's not possible. There are billions of people on the planet. Who gets to be in your universe? You get to curate that. And you curate it based upon what is the world you want to be in? What is your world? And who gets to be in your world? Isn't that powerful? One of the things that I have learned and that I continue to learn through this spiritual work is how much power we have. We don't realize it, but we have it. You have power over your life. Even when terrible stuff happens, illness, tragedy, job loss, whatever, you still have power over your life. How are you going to react to it? What are you going to do? And how can you walk your talk regardless of what happens? People give excuses. Well, I have a lot of students now. I'm teaching at FIT. I didn't turn in my homework because I just have too many things. I'm juggling too much and I couldn't get it done. Not a good excuse. I have a lot of things and I'm still getting it done. Walk your talk. Let me tell you, some folks have been writing. Let me tell you what they're saying. Firming up the core figuratively and literally. Yes, that's it. I mean, that's what we have to do. We have to live on purpose. We have to own who we are. And the thing that I have learned, especially if you are juggling so many things and you don't think you're going to be able to accomplish something, it is say something. Say something in advance. Hey, I accepted this responsibility, but I don't think I can meet this deadline. Can we negotiate something else? I said I was going to do X, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it to the quality that is needed in the time that I have. Let's work together and make something else happen. When you do that, hi, Kimberly from Detroit. When you do that, what happens? You have integrity. You don't let people down, you don't let the moment down, you don't create a disaster that you could have thwarted. We have power, and we need to claim that power, be responsible in that power, and curate our lives so that we are walking the talk. And when we do that, amazing things happen. I mean, and it doesn't mean you have to be serious all the time. So back to my father with his poem, Edgar Guest's poem, and his love of this message that you better do what you say, because what you say doesn't matter if you aren't doing it. It's just talk. And how many of us are good talkers? I'm a good talker, But it's not good if it's not honest, if it's not real, if it doesn't work. And at this stage, for me, and this is a message that I share with my friends who are present and that I share with my friends who are, out in the universe like you guys. When you get to be a certain age, your responsibility not only is to live your life and walk your talk, but to inspire others, right? I have always kept young people around me because that's how I got to New York. Because I created internships for myself, and it helped me to get my job at Essence. I had 6 young people working with me at my party, students of mine, from former students from FIT. Yes, they helped me, but so they could be exposed to other people. My team, the people who work with me, are younger than me. And one of them, who came to us about a year ago, came through a connection. One of my oldest and dearest friends, Rashid Silvera, who gave me the poem that is the reason for Dreamleapers. So these connections are so real. And he's calling me all the time. You have to meet this one. You have to meet that one. You have to help this one. You have to help that one, which can sometimes be exhaustive. But I met Natalie a little over a year ago, and she was a bright light and was totally in alignment with us. And so now she, Fallon, and I are the core team, both of them, different generations, all 3 of us, different generations, working together to offer love, beauty, and insight to everyone we can, to help people to know that they can leap into their dreams, that you can be your best. You can be beautiful being your best. You can be fierce being your best. We can be fierce being our best. And how great is that? I mean, when you think about it and you think about how much power you actually have and how much a glance, a smile, a word coming out of your being can impact somebody else, how great is that? Daryl, who's worked with me, he reminded me for 15 years. Yes, yeah, for my party night yesterday, a couple days ago, he was photographing. He told me when he first started working with me that he wanted to be a photographer. And I pride myself on being the first one to begin showing him how to take pictures. And then he took classes. And now he's teaching photography along with taking pictures all over the place. I have a long list, a wonderful, beautiful list of people who have been in my orbit over time and who together we have made magic. For sure, all of the wisdom that my mother and father and grandmother have shared with me, I'm pulsating out into the world because that's what I believe. I'm telling you, folks, walk your talk, live your love, live your life as purely as you can based upon what you believe to be honorable and true, what you believe love looks like. I mean, that was the thing for my party. I wanted everybody to come and just get a hug because human contact, physical contact, just that embrace. They said that little babies in the hospital live and thrive even when they're, tiny little ones in NICU because somebody held their finger, gave them a hug. We need human contact. We need to be seen. We need to be appreciated. We need to be loved. And each one of us has the capacity to A, love ourselves, fill our cup, and B, offer that love to others. And when you're in a cycle of love, a circle of love, because you've curated your life so that it is filled with people who love you, not yes people, people who love you and who lovingly share the truth with you, who support you, who believe in you even when you're down, who help to lift you up during those moments. That is the best life ever. So before we leave, I want to read, actually, no, Fallon, play Carrie saying the words from the poem. We'll play that and then I'll say a few things and then we'll go. Let's listen to Carrie with My Daddy's Poem.
I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely tell the way. The eye's a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Find counsel is confusing, but example's always clear. And the best of all preachers are the men who live their creeds, for to see good put in action is what everybody needs. I soon can learn to do it if you'll let me see it done. I can watch your hands in action, but your tongue too fast may run. And the lecture you deliver may be very wise and true, but I'd rather get my lessons by observing what you do. For I might misunderstand you and the high advice you give, but there's no misunderstanding how you act and how you live.
So can I just say that the fact that my daughter was sharing that, and she's so poised and so beautiful, and that was probably about 10 years ago, she's 22 now, that she is living in that space of grace and strength, and she's been doing it for a long time. That is proof to me also that legacy, that family legacy and family heritage means so much. And I hope that you can look at your family legacy and heritage and find the wisdom and grace and power in that. And if you have children, that you remember to instill that in them every day that you're on the planet. And, my big message is live love. Today's message, walk your talk. Be that person of integrity. Represent the brand that you say you are. Walk your talk, live love. Thank you for spending this time with me. There's so many loved ones who I just want to say your names. Let me just say, without saying your names, I love you. I thank you for being in my life. And I thank all of you who are connected right now for sharing this moment with me. And feel free to pass this video along to anyone you think may benefit from it. Until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.